Hey everyone, Newsmail here. I have a special podcast today with an interview with Mark Swanson. For those of you who don't know, Mark Swanson is a Rome businessman who was arrested during a Floyd County Commission meeting after he attempted to express concerns regarding the county attorney. And there's quite a few more details involved. Here's the interview.
Minutes, Mr. Swanson.
So are you going to remove me forcibly?
We're going to ask you to discontinue speaking at 3 minutes.
And if I don't discontinue? You're already using your time.
Yeah.
So are you going to forcibly remove me?
Yes.
You're going to forcibly remove me exercising my constitutional rights?
Mark, please don't do this. Just
No.
say what you
No,
got
Rhonda,
to say,
please.
and we
No,
want
no.
to hear. We want to hear what you've got to say, but we have to do the same for every single person. And our rule has always been to give people 3 minutes, and that's what we allow.
Rhonda, there's nowhere in the Georgia Constitution that limits our free speech to 3 minutes. And I feel like as a citizen of this county, I've been paying taxes for a long time, and I've never used my 3 minutes, except for the times that I've stayed within those. I've never exceeded that. So I think I deserve it. I pay a lot of money in taxes. I vote, and I have voted for all of you before. You're supposed to be representing my interests. And instead you scoff and you laugh at my concerns as a citizen. And these aren't just my concerns, they're their concerns.
Many in the Rome, Georgia area were shocked when former banker and community leader Mark Swanson was arrested at a Floyd County Commission meeting. No one was more shocked than Swanson. You go to church.
Yep.
Were you a deacon?
Yes.
You were a deacon?
I'm an ordained deacon.
You're a deacon. I thought so. You've always worked, had a job, financial services primarily.
Financial services. I was 27 years in the banking industry. The last 8, I was president and CEO of a bank.
You know a lot of people in town, have a good reputation.
Yep.
Anybody ask about you, they say, oh, he's a good guy.
That's right.
And honest.
Yes.
Known for your honesty. You can't,
you can't be in financial services and be dishonest.
Okay.
Or not long, anyway.
Okay. So you've got this character that's been your character your whole life. And also you're not what I call a bully guy, a guy to push forward real hard all the time.
That's
and,
right.
You know, you're not one of those
confrontational or anything like that.
Reasonable.
That's right. Very reasonable.
Like conversations.
Okay.
So you've got this personality you've had your whole life.
That's right.
So how does it feel now that they've arrested you, put you in a jail, said you violated a meeting, and then said you're obstructed later? How does that affect you?
It was humiliating to be sitting in a jail cell for doing what I thought was my constitutional rights in jail crocs that I have no idea whose feet's been in before mine. My complete freedom taken from me. I just couldn't believe it. Because the worst part is I knew all these people. I have worked with the commissioners in the banking business. Many of them I know outside of the world of commission. They have known me for a long time. And when you've been in the banking business in town, you get to know a lot of people because you're making loans to a lot of people.
And you were in charity organizations?
And I was in all kinds, about every charity in town. I had led, not just come and hung out. I was actually a leader in the Salvation Army, Optimist Club. I was chairman of my finance committee at the church, chairman of the personnel committee at church. So I was very well known. And sitting there, I just couldn't believe these people that I knew would do this to me. But then the next day when it showed up on the front page of the paper and they went through my whole history, and the coup de grace for them was at the end of the article in the Rome News Tribune, they said the last time anybody had been arrested at a county commission meeting was back in 1992. And it was when Serpentfoot was arrested. Serpentfoot was arrested because she disrobed.
I was a reporter, actually. Not there, but we covered that story. I was there.
Not only did she disrobe, but she had previously put baby oil all over her body so that they couldn't tackle her and arrest her.
They ended up banning her from the county.
They banned her from the county.
Mm-hmm.
But they made sure that the article closed and associated with me with Serpentfoot. That we're the only 2 people who've ever been arrested in a county commission meeting.
Swanson attended the January 10th, 2023 Commissioners meeting with the intent of speaking 15 minutes about why the Commission should hold off on renewing the contract with its attorney firm of McRae, Smith, Harmon, and Peake. Swanson said he discovered some things that required additional investigation and discussion. Those discoveries came after Swanson began looking at irregularities of the past elections, including the 2020, 2021 Senate runoff, 2022, and 2024 elections. Swanson contends Floyd County elections, in fact, the state of Georgia elections, were illegal and unconstitutional. He asked the commission days ahead of time to be granted 15 minutes, but never got an answer. Swanson talked to commissioners one-on-one on several occasions about his concerns. He spoke in meetings many times. He attended the pre-meeting caucus where no one spoke to him or addressed his request. He said the commission never voted on his request, but instead announced at the beginning of the meeting that he would only get 3 minutes to state his case.
Ask you to discontinue speaking at 3 minutes.
And if I don't discontinue,
You're already using your time.
Yeah.
so are you going to forcibly remove me?
Yes.
Are you going to forcibly remove me?
Yes.
Podium speaking.
That's when he was arrested.
They put me up against a wall and handcuffed me and started removing my personal items out. I started asking, what law did I break? Tell me what my charge is. Why am I being arrested? Now, my only assumption was I exceeded some time limit, but I didn't think that was an arrestable offense. But they wouldn't respond. They wouldn't tell me. I got down to the jail and I kept asking them, they're about to put me in jail. Why are you putting me in jail? No response. I didn't learn what I was arrested for until I had to sign my bail receipt after I'd spent 3 hours in a jail cell.
Booking, we talked about that they were asking some unusual questions about your employment, which was concerning and questionable.
Yep.
So they take you, they put you in a jail cell. Tell me about your feelings at that point.
Oh my gosh. Well, I felt pretty clear at this point that the county commissioners were sending me a clear message, and that was, don't mess with them. And I felt they were trying to inflict maximum possible punishment on me to discourage me and make me go away. And part of that is they made me wear the orange jail Crocs. I had to take off my dress shoes. I was dressed in a coat and slacks. They made me take those off. The deputy tried, I've had my wedding ring put on me by my wife when we got married. That's 30-something years ago. And I broke my knuckle and it won't come off. But they went and got Dawn dish liquid and soaked my finger in Dawn dish, and she physically tried to remove the ring off my finger, my marriage ring, which made no sense to me. I told her it wasn't coming off. I said, you're going to have to cut it off. And then they shoved me in what I would call a general population cell. It was a large cell. It had 2 rows of benches in it, had a bathroom in the back. It could probably easily hold 30 people. Now they had in this booking area, they had individual cells. I was the only one in that whole booking area all night. I had all of these cells available to me, and they could have put me in an individual cell. They could have let me go. Mm-hmm. But they put me in the general pop, and I felt immediately that the reason they were going to do that is they were going to make sure 2 of their worst offenders would come in there and give me a message. So all I knew to do is either be consumed by the fear or just pray. And so I spent that time praying and really just focused on the Lord and asking the Lord to protect me and save me. And thankfully, nobody else came in.
Disrupting a public meeting is not the charge he is facing in the upcoming trial, but it remains on his record. You face that charge, it's still on your record, but explain why you're not being tried for that charge.
Great question. So it wasn't until I signed my bail receipt that I finally was confronted with my charge, and it was disrupting a lawful meeting. And in Georgia, our code system is described as OCGA, Official Code of Georgia Annotated. It's our law. And it said that it was a violation of OCGA 161134. And I read that and thought, surely this is not a real law. So I finally got home, I pulled that law up, Googled it, and read it, and it said I could face a misdemeanor for disrupting a lawful meeting. I thought, but I started reading the annotations, and the first annotation said the law had been ruled unconstitutional and void. In fact, the little snippet in the annotation, the Supreme Court of Georgia called the law an absurdity. They actually used the word absurdity in this annotation. And it referenced a Supreme Court decision. I read the Supreme Court decision, and it was almost...
Georgia Supreme Court.
Georgia Supreme Court. And it was almost identical situation to mine. And so not only did they rule it unconstitutional, but they voided the law, which meant in legal terms, in 2006, the Georgia Supreme Court made that law go away. But the legislatures have never taken that law off the books. So if you're not aware of the annotations and you just look through the code, that code is still there. And I think whoever decided that was my charge was not looking at the annotated version of the code, and they picked that because it fit.
A Floyd County grand jury indicted Swanson on an obstruction charge in November 22nd, 2024, a month after Swanson filed a federal lawsuit against the county on October 25th, 2024. You were indicted by the grand jury, but you weren't aware that you were being indicted by a grand jury either. Explain that. So how did you find out you were being indicted by a grand jury?
Yeah, so that charge should have been dropped. The initial charge of disrupting lawful meetings should have been immediately dropped. We made some efforts with the DA. That charge is still out there. And I believe they held it out there as a placeholder in case I thought about suing them later. They could maybe find something else to charge me for. So that was in January of 23 when I was arrested. Obstruction was not on my arrest report. Nowhere on the arrest report was that mentioned. The only charge was the unconstitutional charge. So that was in January 23. So in October 25, I filed a federal lawsuit October 25th, 2024, I filed a federal lawsuit against the county and everybody we'll talk about that later. But 3 weeks later, I'm at home in my backyard and I get a phone call from my attorney and he says, "Hey, do you know you've been indicted?" I was like, "Well, they can't indict me for that. It's unconstitutional." And he said, "No, apparently they indicted you for obstruction." And I said, "I didn't obstruct. It's all on video." And so as I thought about it, I said, "Now, wait a minute. Shouldn't I know that I've been indicted?" And he just kind of laughed and said, "Yeah, you probably should." I said, "Well, I have no knowledge of this. How did you find out?" Talking to my attorney. And he said, "Well, I just had a discussion with defense counsel for the county regarding your federal lawsuit. And the defense counsel for the county was the one that informed me that you had been indicted for obstruction." And I thought, how weird is it that the defense counsel for the county found out about my indictment before either my attorney or myself? That's how I found about it.
Swanson's trial has complications. 4 Floyd County Superior Court judges recused themselves from Swanson's case, as did District Attorney Lee Patterson and all of the county's assistant DAs. Another prosecutor has been assigned, but Swanson questions who made that assignment. It is supposed to be made by the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, but Swanson said he can't find any written records of the PAC's assignment. The judge now presiding is G. Grant Brantley, but no trial date has been set. Swanson said he isn't deterred from seeking the truth, and now, thanks to social media, he has more than 600,000 others following his case.
Two investigations at the same time. One is I'm investigating what they did to me, the arrest, and we may talk about that later, because I was very suspicious that it was pre-planned, it was a setup, and as I started to do open record requests, I found out I had documentation that proved it was a setup. And then I started getting documentation that the county was trying to cover up on elections. So I had both of these things going on simultaneously, and both of them made me want to dig harder for the other.
For those of you who want to keep up with this story, you can subscribe to Georgia Media Group, or one of the pages, the 18 pages of Georgia Media Group, including Bartow County and Floyd County Media page. Or you can go on Mark's page on Facebook, and it's in the description, and see what he has to say there, and continue keeping up with the podcast here. Have a good day, everyone. Until next time.